everyone, welcome back to another video on the channel. Today we're back on Gran Turismo Sport racing in the GR.4 daily race at Monza. Obviously all default setup, BOP on, and we're starting from pole position. We managed an okay lap in qualification. It got us quite high up on the grid. This race had a lot of fast drivers in it, a lot of S-rated drivers. I think there was more than 10 over 10 S-rated drivers in this race. This race did not serve me too well, to be brutally honest. For some reason I was struggling with race pace, but this was our best attempt at getting a good result. But as you can see, we had no luck at this race, and we're going to find out why as the race goes on. So we're just going to concentrate on the race at the moment. Going into turn 1, we were making sure we got a nice clean entry into that corner, defending the inside still. Nice clean exit on the corner there, a little bit of oversteer, but with the angle we took through the corner it was going to happen. But we got enough of an exit speed out of that corner to ensure that we wasn't going to get too much of trouble going into the next corner. What I'd realised in later races was that the guy behind was saving fuel in the slipstream. He was basically using the position to gain himself a lot of time in the pit stop. It's something that I wasn't really telling. It was the second race I was doing on this track. I hadn't raced, obviously I think it was on Sunday, this track, and it was quite late at night. It was around 7-8 o'clock at night. So I think a lot of people have been racing this all through the day. Obviously on Sunday everyone off work, and they really got used to the track, got used to the strategy. I was still learning it. I managed to get my pace up a little bit towards the end by adjusting the braking distances, mainly because of the strategy we were running. And I just had no luck throughout the races. Every race we didn't finish worse than 4th or 5th really in any of the races, but we just had no luck in getting the victory. Really annoyed at myself for not getting a win at this track, but this was probably our closest attempt that we could have had. It was a real good battle, some great action, and there was one incident that we're going to show you at the end of the race and then go over it, etc. But wanted to share this race anyway because it was very close all the way through the race. There was different strategies, so many different people running different strategies, as you'll see as the video progresses. It'll give you a good idea of I think I'd love to see more on this game is longer races, because I think if there was like 30 lap races with maybe just ×2 fuel or something like that, and they made it so a pit stop was even needed or you didn't have to, depending on what tyre you used, I think that would be a good way to go with some of these races. I do find that with the tyre wear on so fast sometimes, some tracks I'm okay with the tyre wear and I seem to be able to cope with it. Other tracks I seem to struggle. It's just really random. Anyway, as you can see there, we managed to defend the position all through lap 1 and stay in the lead, even though the slipstream was quite strong with these cars. But what I found was, even with it being strong, the guy behind was not really using full throttle down the straight, so he wasn't really putting any moves in to make an overtake on me, because obviously he was just saving his fuel down the straight using probably fuel mixture 2 or 3, probably 2 it was, and then he was pretty much going the same speed as us down the straight because of that, and as a result was saving a lot of fuel at the same time. Anyway, getting back to the action now, you can see they're using all the exit curb there to try and give ourselves some speed coming out of that corner. I was at this point holding around, it was around about a second lead. It was around second, the gap to second place, but like I said, he was saving his fuel. I found out in later races, so that when he pitted, he was saving a lot of time when it came to the pit stop. I don't know how much fuel he was saving, but I'm guessing what he was doing was trying to stay in the slipstream and going down to a fuel mixture 2 or 3 during the straights when he was in the slipstream, and then probably using fuel mixture 2 or 3 through the corners as well. You don't really lose too much time through the corners when lowering that fuel mixture. But this was the guy that we had a lot of battles with when we were streaming. The guy in second there, he was the guy who was driving the Lamborghini, who we were managing to pull away on the first bit, and then on the second bit it was fairly equal. We beat him a couple of times, he beat us a couple of times, so it was fairly equal. I think it was at Nürburgring in the GR3 that it was fairly equal, the racing. I think we had pretty much the same speed, and it was some really good battles against him on that one. But at this track he definitely seemed to have a speed advantage in the race, I would say, because I've raced him a number of times. He seems like a very clean driver, but he definitely was saving the fuel, which was a good strategy for him, but I don't think I had the race pace to do that for some reason in this car. Some of it is probably because I've never raced this car before. It's not a car I'm used to driving. We managed to get an okay qualifying lap, and I do like the handling on the car. It's got a lot of rear grip, it handles reasonably well. It's just something with this car that doesn't really agree with me with race pace at the moment, but I'm sure we'll get that sorted as we come to more races when we have to use it. I just hope they start getting a little bit more variety in these races. I'm noticing a lot of them are picking up. This is the first time I've seen Monza. I mean, there's probably been other races when I've not been on, but a lot of the tracks seem to be repeated, like the GR.1 at Interlagos. I think that's on again today. That's the third time I've seen it on that track in about 2 weeks. I mean, I know they're limited on the tracks, but I don't think they're that limited that they have to repeat tracks within 3 times within such a short space. It's a reason why I'm really hoping they start adding some more tracks like Spa, Laguna Seca, possibly Indy Road, etc., Daytona Road, even Le Mans. It'd be a great addition to this game. It'd be really fun to race that track, but whether they ever end up adding some of these tracks, I really don't know. There's a possibility, obviously, with some of the skate modes being at Le Mans track, but that could be just because it's a famous track and he's just used it. But hopefully, you know, it may come to the game. It should do, really. It really is lacking in real tracks, but hopefully that will get sorted soon. Anyway, getting back onto the action, as you can see there, we're still in first place, and we're just over a second in the lead. You can see the cars behind us. We've built up a fairly nice lead, as you can see there, and second place has actually been took over by another guy from Britain, also from the UK. And I think it just worked. I think that the guy in third was actually using that to his favour. I think he was deliberate in terms of not fighting these positions. What he wanted to do was get himself into a slipstream. He had lost our slipstream, so his idea was probably to get back into another slipstream and then start saving more fuel so he can really shorten his pit stop as much as possible. As you can see there, really braking early into the chicane, taking a lot of the curb, nicely on the power. And I was noticing I was getting a little bit of an advantage coming out of that corner. You can see there, pulling over 2 seconds now to the guy behind. It was gaining us a lot of time, but then we were losing some time on the 2 Lesmos. I think what I was doing was not getting on the power early enough and taking enough of an angle into the corner. And in a couple of races I made a few errors where we ran wide and got on the braking when our left tyre was on the grass. But I'm sure if we would have carried on racing, had more races at this track. You see there, we nearly ran wide. We managed to not lose too much time by doing that there, though. Got away with that one. But on this one, you can see sometimes we were running out when we were coming out this corner and then getting on the brakes. Our left-hand tyre was just skimming the grass, and we were losing control going into this corner, and that's how we lost a couple of positions in the race. I think even in this race we might have done it once, but I was a little bit wound up when it came to that situation, which you'll see further on in the race. So I was driving a little bit annoyed, and when I get annoyed I tend to drive a little bit scruffy and lose a lot of time. I do need to try and calm down a bit and like just keep concentrating. As you can see there, at this point we've got the fastest lap of the race, up to the pit stops pretty much. I think someone may have gone faster, it depends. I think this proves that we were probably running the wrong strategy. I think a lot of other people were saving fuel and then gaining a lot of time in the pit stop, but when we're starting a pole, there's not much else we could really do, because if we started saving fuel, we'd just end up getting in a lot of battles that we don't really want to get involved with, and you risk running some issues. You can see we had picked up a time penalty on that chicane, which is one thing I don't agree with on this game, on that chicane, on the fast chicane. I checked it on the replay. I've checked it on the replay in when you're doing the hot lap qualifying. 2 tyres on the right hand side, your front right and rear right tyres are within the track limits, within the white lines, but the 2 left aren't. That, in my view, is not a track limit violation, but this game picks up on it. It's strange that it picks up on there, but then lets you get away with so much more on other corners, like the first chicane where you're pretty much taking the whole chicane. You know, you can take so much of it, and this chicane up here where you can take a lot of it. Hopefully they really do look at the track limits on the game in general, because there's a lot of corners that need to be stricter on, and on corner exits where people are track extending, like Nürburgring, everyone does it. I do it, you know, people are going to do it if it's available to be done, but I would rather they clamp down on it and also fix some of the ones that are a little bit too strict, because there's no real time gain on that corner where the fast chicane at the end of the lap. Especially when you're within the track limits. Fair enough, if all 4 wheels are over that white line, then fair enough, give the penalty. But when you've got 2 wheels within it, I think they need to be a little less strict on that one. But as you can see there, I knew I'd be okay in terms of losing the slowdown, because with the pit stop and obviously with the amount of laps to go, if you just carry on driving, that's a hint for if you ever get a slowdown with that amount of time to go. Do not lift and let it go. Just drive, keep driving, and you'll eventually just lose that. It seems like a bit of a weird situation with the game. It just gradually goes down the more you drive. It's probably because it's based on your fastest lap that you've done. So obviously with tyre wear, as you're losing time in sectors, it's going to keep taking time off it, and that's what I always do. I tend to just leave it and let it try and go down by itself. But obviously if you're doing it at the end of the race, on the last 2 laps, etc., you might need to lift and get rid of it, or if you go over the line and you haven't got rid of it, it will still give you that full slowdown penalty. So even if you'd lost some of it, it will still give you the full amount. So you can see there, we're into the pit stop, we're not changing tyres, we're just going to go straight into the fueling up of the car. And you can see there, refueling, I think we just short of under 4 litres there, we 3.9. I could have got away with a little bit less, but we just put 3.9 just to make sure, and it said for us to put 4 in, but we did 3.9 as I knew that I could save a little bit. And the guy behind us must have short pitted, must have been saving fuel behind us, as he gained quite a lot of time and got himself into the slipstream. And this is really key, because I started driving a little bit scruffy when I saw how close he came out of the pits, and I really should have just concentrated and started braking a little bit earlier as well, because we had obviously come out of the pits and seen that gap. I think I started pushing a little bit too hard, and I was braking too late for the corners. I should have been braking earlier with the tyre wear that started to kick in, but I wasn't doing that, and it ended up costing me a bit of time, as you're going to see now going into the chicane. Braked okay there, we're not doing too bad on this lap, but as you're going to see further on in the race, I start getting a little bit scruffy, and it's probably my fault. But what ends up not giving us the win to this race is nothing to do with my fault, and I was really annoyed at it, but we'll get to that when it happens. So anyway, we're keeping our position in first place, doing second place at the moment, but the guy ahead has not pitted yet, obviously, so we will get that position back when he pits. He's going to come out fairly close to us, obviously, because I'm not sure whether he was saving fuel but changing tyres as well. I think what his plan was to save fuel but change tyres, so he was going to have the extra grip at the end, whereas we would be low on grip but maybe coming out a little bit ahead. So you can see now we're still just ahead of the guy in third place, managing to keep the lead here. We did start to struggle a bit. I think it was this next lap where we missed a few of our braking zones. You're going to see now, and you're going to see where first place comes out of the pits. The pit lane, I think they really need to do something with the way the pits work, because it seems to take too fast to pit in my view, and you don't really see the car going down the pits, and the pit entry, the whole thing just takes a little bit too fast in my view. But you're going to see now as the guy has come out of the pits, he's actually come out in, let's going to see, he's in second there, but he's in third there now, and as he managed to hold he's managed to stay in third place, so he did lose another position behind second, who was behind me. And let's just have a little look, see if we can see on the top right hand corner when it pans out a little bit how far behind he is. So at that point he's got a little bit of a gap between second and third there. We've got a little bit of a cushion between second. But it was this lap, I think we made a few little errors on this lap now. But at this point we had quite a big gap to fourth and fifth. Quite a substantial lead, and we didn't really need to worry. But we braked a little bit late there. You can see we compromised our entry into that corner. Luckily he wasn't able to get on the power because of the angle we took. He started flashing me, I do not know why. He probably thought that I should get out of the way of him, but I don't see why. I kept the car on the track. There was no reason for me to let him past at all there. So we're trying to get back on the power and trying to get a clean exit from this corner now. He's got third place right behind him, attacking him now, and all I needed to do was really try and keep concentrated at this point and keep the car on the track. And I felt like I had a reasonable chance of keeping the lead, because I had the cushion with the guy behind me that I felt I could keep behind, because it was only when we made a mistake was he able to get near enough us to make a move. Once we were clean and everything was normal, he was struggling to really get close enough to make a move on us. The only way he was getting close enough was through slipstream, and obviously us making a mistake like that. We had a little penalty still to get rid of there, but that was fairly easy to get rid of in 2 laps. You tend to lose that fairly easily. So going through the last corner, you see second place runs really wide there, and has given the third place actually the position there. He's actually got a pull on him now, and third place has managed to overtake second place. They're battling away there. You can see now he's actually got in front, so we're in the lead now. This is where the incident's going to take place that really wound me up. So going into the braking zone, there's a clear gap between myself and second place. I'm just driving, I'm not really going to look I wasn't looking behind me at this point, going to go and turn into the corner, and we just get a car dive straight down our inside, knock us clean into the off the track. We lose a lot of time on the lap there. You can see probably lost about a second to 2 seconds in terms of time, which has also put a lot of the other cars behind us a lot closer to us. When you're going to go back to the end of the race, we're going to show you exactly what happened. It wasn't the guy in first fault, but I feel that because he's now ahead of us through that incident, which wasn't our fault, I felt he should have given me that position back. I was flashing him, making my point pretty obvious that I felt that what he had done was not right and he should have given me that position back. Even if it clearly had more speed, I think he had fresher tyres on, so he clearly had the speed to let me back pass and then try and make a fair move. That wasn't fair in my view, and he should have let me back pass. But we're going to show you what happened. It wasn't his fault what actually happened which caused it, but because of that incident which took us out, he got the lead of the race. Now I didn't find that very fair at all. I think he should have, if anything, lifted, let us back pass and put himself in second position. He could have done that, and after that I was driving really scruffy. You can see now I was really wound up and I just wasn't driving clean, and I had two more cars right behind me in the slipstream. One of the guys is a really fast guy as well, who's in third, who I knew that had the pace advantage over me, especially with the strategy he was running. It's possible that he had changed tyres as well because of the amount of fuel that he had saved, but there wasn't really much I could do now. I just had to see if I could just try and keep it on the track, trying to defend that outside line and inside line, as I had two cars behind me. As we go into the final corner, you can see there we got a car, both of us running really wide out of that corner. We both got a lot of understeer, so going down the straight I knew I was going to have to defend again, so I again had to go to the inside of the track and try and defend the corner. Look how much slower our lap was because of that incident. 2 minutes 7. It was nearly 3 seconds off our fastest lap, and even if without that incident, I think we would have been about 2 seconds further up the road, and I think we would have had first place still covered at this point, and possibly would have just had to defend on the last lap as we got really aggressive out that corner because we were just so wound up at the guy in front. I think I was still flashing him at this point because I was really annoyed at him, and because at this point I thought he had just dive bombed me, so I was really like wound up, and I was trying to flash him to say, you know, you need to let me back pass, but he just wasn't having any of it. And I think he showed his true colours in a few races after this point as well. As we get overtaken going into this corner, nothing I can really do there. I have to just let him go. Tried to take a little bit too much that curb there. I think we got a penalty on one of the corners. I don't know if it was the one before. So we had to try and get rid of this 1.6 seconds as well, so it was all going wrong on the last lap, on the last two laps. And then we ran wide out of that corner, giving fourth place a run on us. As we get on the brakes there, you can see we got on the brakes on the grass, so it all just went completely wrong on the last few laps, down to fourth place from a potential win. Really not happy with the situation, but there's not much we could have done. I felt like without the incident that happened, I think we would have had this race covered. We had the speed advantage over the guy who was in second, to cover him off. I don't think he could have made a move. I think we had the ability to defend him fairly easily and even pull a little bit of a gap if needed. But because of obviously that incident, we lost a few seconds on that lap. It was about 2 to 3 seconds, which then put us in the clutches of the other guys who were really fast on fresher tyres, and it just completely messed up the race strategy, and I was really annoyed at the whole situation. But we decided to try and get rid of this slowdown, you can see, so we didn't get a full 2 seconds. And I think the guy in front of us, as it was really struggling on the fuel, you could see he seemed to be slowing down, so I got rid of the fuel, and I think he ran out of fuel there just before the line, and we managed to get third place back, putting us back on the podium. But wasn't happy really. I felt like that first place was mine, and it should have been mine really. It would have been very close between myself and the guy who ended up first, but I felt that he could have done that cleanly. I felt like he didn't have to make that move. I felt like he could have just let me back pass and retried it. So we're going to have a little watch from my view, looking back at what happened. So you can see them two driving really closely together. It looks like he gets a little nudge and then he just tries to turn it into an overtake move. I have literally no idea he's coming through. All over the curbs, lose a lot of time, and a lot of time on acceleration as well. You can see how much time third and fourth gained on me because of that incident, and that's what really lost us any chance of getting second place as well. So we're going to have a little look at what actually caused it. So the guy who was behind me at the point, I think he was driving too close to the guy in front. If he was driving as close as he is here, I feel he should have been further on the right hand side and pulled out. He didn't do that. He caused the incident by knocking into the guy who was in second, who then knocked into me. But I still feel that the guy who got the lead should have let me back pass and then made a move further on in one of the laps. Anyway guys, hope you enjoyed the video. Give it a thumbs up if you enjoyed it. Make sure you subscribe and hit that notification button so you don't miss any videos. I'll be back very soon with more videos.